1. Unicorn, saola, pseudoryx People in Vietnam and Laos talk about a shy forest unicorn long before science enters the story. The saola fits that image fast. It has two long, straight horns that look like one from the right angle. It moves quietly through the Annamite Mountains, far from roads and cities. In 1992, scientists found a saola skull in a local home, and the world reacted like a legend just stepped into daylight. Camera traps later confirmed living saola in dense forests. Estimates stay uncertain, but many experts fear the population sits in the low hundreds. Therefore, the saola becomes a modern mystery with an ancient look. However, the next beast looks like a dragon that climbed out of fire and chose islands. 2. Dragon, Komodo dragon, Varanus komodoensis. Island air feels heavy when a Komodo dragon walks past. It reaches over 3 meters in length and can weigh more than 70 kilograms. Its scales look like armor plates, and its tongue flicks like a living sensor. Western reports exploded after 1910 when Dutch forces heard stories of giant lizards on Komodo Island. By 1912, the outside world started calling them dragons. The name sticks because the animal matches the picture: huge, ancient looking, and built for dominance. Today, researchers confirm venom glands that help cause shock and heavy bleeding. The dragon also tracks prey for long distances. Therefore, the myth of land dragons gains a real face. However, the next creature carries eagle energy and lion posture in one body. 3. Griffin, secretary bird, Sagittarius serpentarius. A tall bird walks across African grasslands like a warrior on stilts. The secretary bird stands over a meter high with long legs and a sharp-hooked beak. Its crest feathers look like a crown. From a distance, the silhouette feels like a griffin sketch comes alive. Explorers in the 1800s described this bird as a snake hunter with strange elegance. It stomps hard enough to crush venomous snakes. High-speed studies show its kicks land in milliseconds, faster than many reptiles can react. It also spreads wide wings for balance, adding an eagle-like scale to the scene. Therefore, the secretary bird blends sky and ground in one design. However, the ocean offers a mermaid-shaped giant that fooled tired eyes for centuries. 4. Mermaid, dugong, sailors in the 1400s and 1500s spent months at sea, and their minds searched for comfort in shapes on the horizon. A dugong rising in shallow water gives that shape. Its rounded head, smooth skin, and slow floating movements can resemble a human form from far away. Dugongs live across warm coastal waters from East Africa to Australia. Adults reach 3 meters and weigh up to 400 kilograms. They graze seagrass meadows like underwater cows. Stories of sea women spread easily along trade routes, especially when a large, calm animal appears near boats. Therefore, the dugong becomes a living seed for mermaid lore. However, deep water holds a tentacled giant that matches the old sea nightmares. 5. Kraken, giant squid, Architeuthis ducks, sailor. Stories of the Kraken dominated European sea talk by the 1700s. They describe a massive creature that can wrap ships in arms. The giant squid fits the body plan almost perfectly. Modern specimens show lengths over 10 meters, with huge eyes that can reach about 25 centimeters across. Those eyes help it hunt in deep darkness. In 2004, researchers captured one of the first clear images of a living giant squid in the wild, and the legend suddenly gained real proof. Its long feeding tentacles use sharp hooks and suction cups to seize prey. Therefore, the Kraken shifts from rumor to biology. However, the next myth burns through the sky in red, and a real bird wears that same fire color. 6. Phoenix, scarlet ibis, Eudocimus ruber. A scarlet ibis flock lifts off at sunrise, and the sky looks like it catches fire. The bird's red comes from carotenoids in its diet, especially crustaceans. That bright color gives the phoenix idea an easy landing in human imagination. People in South America have celebrated the ibis for centuries, and early naturalists in the 1600s record its intense red as a symbol of life and renewal. Flocks gather in huge numbers in places like Venezuela's coastal wetlands. The dramatic group flight creates a rebirth feeling every morning. Therefore, the phoenix story gains a real-world color match. However, the next creature looks like a wolf stretched upward into a tall shadow, perfect for night legends. 7. Werewolf, maned wolf, Chrysochian brachyurus. The maned wolf looks like a wolf built on long legs. It stands around 90 centimeters at the shoulder, with black stockings and a red coat. At night, that shape can resemble a human-sized canine figure moving through tall grass. This animal lives in South American savannas and open forests. Local folklore often describes a strange wolf-like presence tied to the countryside. The maned wolf's eerie bark adds to the mood. Its diet surprises many people. It eats small animals and a large amount of fruit, especially the lobera or wolf apple. Therefore, the werewolf image gains a real silhouette in moonlit fields. However, one myth comes from a single eye, and nature sometimes produces that image in real newborns. 8. Cyclops, one-eyed goats, genetic cyclopia. Ancient Greeks described cyclopes as giant beings with one central eye. A real animal condition can create a similar look. Genetic cyclopia sometimes appears in goats and sheep. The skull forms with one eye socket centered in the face. Modern veterinary records describe cases linked to early developmental changes, sometimes connected to toxic plants consumed during pregnancy. In parts of the western United States, ranchers historically associate cyclopia cases with certain lupines. These births remain uncommon, but each case creates a powerful myth-shaped image. A small animal can look like a creature from an epic poem. Therefore, the Cyclops idea gains a natural origin in rare biology events. However, the next beast looks like a many-armed sea monster in miniature, floating like a jewel. 9. Hydra, blue sea dragon, Glaucus atlanticus. The blue sea dragon drifts upside down near ocean surfaces, and its body branches into finger-like serrata that look like many living arms. That shape echoes the Hydra image from old stories. It grows only a few centimeters long, but it carries serious power. It eats Portuguese man-o'-war and stores their stinging cells inside its own tissues for defense. The vivid blue and silver pattern gives it a mythical look in bright sun. Beachgoers sometimes find them after storms, and the tiny dragon suddenly becomes real in a human hand. Therefore, a small sea slug wears the armor of bigger monsters. However, the next creature shares its myth name directly and runs across water like a rumored sorcerer's pet. 10. Basilisk, basilisk lizard, Basiliscus basiliscus. The basilisk lizard already carries the myth name, and its look seals the connection. It has a crest on its head and back, giving a regal, dragon-like profile. Its most famous trick comes from speed. It can sprint across water for several meters by slapping the surface with wide feet and trapping air pockets. Studies in the 1990s measured impressive burst speeds, especially in young lizards with lighter bodies. People in Central America see this feat and build stories around it. A creature that seems to treat rivers like roads becomes an instant legend machine. Therefore, the basilisk lizard turns folklore into a physics lesson you can watch. However, snowy mountains hold a large pale shape that sparked the most famous cold region monster story. 11. Yeti, Himalayan brown bear, Ursus arctos isabelinus. Footprints in fresh snow drive stories faster than any animal can run. The Himalayan brown bear stands tall on two legs when it scans its surroundings, and its pale coat can blend with rocky snowfields. That posture and color help fuel the Yeti image. Explorers in the 1800s and early 1900s record strange tracks and talk about a wild man of the mountains. Modern DNA studies of hair samples often link them to bears in the region. The bear's strength, size, and remote habitat keep the mystery alive in local culture. Therefore, the Yeti gains a strong, real-world silhouette in harsh terrain. However, the final legend rides storms, and one real bird rules the high winds of South America. 12. Thunderbird, Andean condor, Vulture gryphus. The Andean condor looks like a flying myth. It reaches a wingspan around 3.0 to 3.3 meters and rides mountain air currents for hours. From below, its shadow can cover large stretches of ground. Indigenous cultures across the Andes treat it as a sacred sky figure for centuries. Stories describe a powerful bird tied to mountains and weather. The condor fits that role with ease. It soars near peaks over 5,000 meters, using thermal columns like invisible ladders. Its bald head and heavy beak add a fierce, ancient look. Therefore, the Thunderbird legend finds a living match in a real giant of the sky. The wild still carries myth shapes in plain sight today. Now that you've seen one secret, there's a dozen more waiting just out of sight. Click the next video. The story never stops, and you never know what you'll discover next.